watch your heart break as we hit the ground. You and I can save the world, but you and I can't have it all. In the end, the light goes out, but in the end, the night is ours.
It's really an old concept that I've used in other songs, which is about taking life easy and smelling the roses. Because nowadays, more than ever, too many people are rushing around and not taking things slower. And so really, it's about taking that time to enjoy the simple things, the good things in life. In the chorus, I go further with the concept by saying that you and I can save the world, but you and I can't have it all. And that's kind of sort of a metaphor, really. When I say save the world, it's not literally, just it's a metaphor for those kind of people that try to do too much with their lives. You know, try to have it all, because you can't. I personally feel you can't have everything, you know. I'm sort of saying to other people, you know, just simplify your lives. In a nutshell, really. To be honest, the main concept really came from Mark Shingleton, who did a fantastic job with filming most of it. Mark came up with the concept of the slow-mo footage, which worked really well with the idea of taking life slower, you know, and smelling the roses. So there's for example, there's a couple of cool shots he created where I'm walking in slow motion down beside a highway, and the cars are in time lapse. So it's slow motion versus time lapse, which is a great kind of contrast, and really sets the mood of the song. But yeah, some other things that Mark and I worked on for the treatment of the video was the idea of starting off sort of in the afternoon with daylight, and then progressing through to dusk and twilight, and then into the night, and that sort of plays on the idea or the title of the song, The Night. Wow, that's one of the hardest things to balance, being an independent musician nowadays. The thing that I enjoy the most is the creative side of it, and that is creating the music, writing the music, and performing the music. Even the initial part of the recording process, where you're playing the instruments and when you're recording it. But once you get into the engineering side of it and the post-production, it's more like a science, and that's where it starts to get a bit tedious. I mean, there are literally hundreds of hours that go into these songs that I've created, that I've produced. I mean, it's crazy. So by the end of the process, you know, there's more time actually spent on the engineering and the post-production, and by the end of it all, you're sort of thinking, you're starting to dread the next song a little bit from that long process. On the whole, I don't miss the stress of playing live, or the stress of setting up and getting the sound check right, and the limited money that you get paid. But there's a couple of things I miss, and one of them is sort of the camaraderie of the bandmates and the brotherhood, because really you're like brothers. You're actually closer in some ways than blood brothers, and that's pretty cool. You know, it feels like you belong to something. The other thing I miss, I think most musicians know what I mean, is just the drug of playing live. It's just such a cool buzz, you know. When you've got an audience there that are into it and digging it, and you're feeding off their energy, it's just the most awesomest thing in the world. The only problem, though, I found is that those moments are 2% of the time. So you got like sort of 98% stress. Whereas now that I'm doing the studio work, it's kind of a lot more satisfying and yeah, way less stress really. I'm using a Mac computer with Logic Pro 10 and a couple of plugins, a couple of specialized plugins. One, of course, is standard Ozone 5 and Ozone 6, but I prefer Ozone 5. And my secret weapon is a plugin called CLA, and that is an effects chain plugin that has your EQ, your compression, reverb, delay, and stereo width. And anyway, Chris Lord Algie is a top producer in New York who has produced the albums for Bon Jovi, U2, Green Day, and he got the amazing sound for Creed and Nickelback. So yeah, no, just that wealth of experience that he's put into this plugins, and he actually they're so good that he uses them himself in the studio nowadays. On top of that, I use a couple of powered KRK 6-inch monitors, which are awesome, and KRK cans. And my sort of baby, pride and joy, is my new Focusrite Forte audio interface, which is pristine quality. It's really sort of the new generation of preamps. For instrumentally wise, I have 3 keyboards, Yamaha P200 digital piano, a AX synth guitar Roland, and a Korg M1. Had to think about that. A while since I used that one. And you can see a couple of my guitars here. Fender Strat, which is my #1 guitar, and my RG, Iron Label Ibanez RG, which is for sort of the heavier, crunchier stuff. Also have a Fender Precision Bass, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. I'm not really looking at, I can't say I'm looking at signing up with a record label, but I am keeping open to the idea of a distributor. And the reason being is it's just too hard to kind of do it all yourself. At the moment, I'm with my distributor is CD Baby, like a lot of independent musicians. A couple of years back, I thought it was a bit weak, especially for the original scene. It's always been really strong with the cover scene, but not so strong, not so solidified, you know, with the original scene. But lately, I have to admit that they're starting to get a kind of a core sort of movement over at the Mount now through Moeo Performing Arts School, or MIM Studios. And those guys have got a really cool live venue set up there with big stage, just set up really well for original bands. And and I have noticed that a lot of higher profile bands from out of town are playing there now. So I'd say in the last year it's starting to pick up, and that really is the only cool venue. So all your bands out there, that's the place to play. So I wouldn't diss Tauranga too much. It's actually it's a little bit kind of disconnected. You kind of have to seek out the right people. Otherwise, you become a loner. So it doesn't have like the heart and soul of Wellington music scene or down south. As far as the live thing goes, maybe down the track, might be a bit further down the track. But the next big project after this video is released, which of course we're coinciding with this interview, the next big thing is the album, and I've got half the material written and recorded, and I just need to work on the next half of the material, and so by early next year we'll be releasing that. So it's pretty exciting stuff, really. I mean, this video is a big thing for us, and the contacts that we've made on internationally on the internet, and this is pretty exciting. Is a guy called Scott Sullivan, and from the US group 7 Days, and he is an awesomely talented musician. He sought me out through Reverb Nation, and asked if I could. He liked the sound of my vocals, and asked if I wanted to record on a couple of his tracks. Sent me the demos, and I thought, yeah, that's cool. So we've just released our first one together, and that's going to be part of the Audio Storm album. He's given me permission to put it on the album. But the first song, which is being released on SoundCloud already, is a song called "Paying It Forward," and that has a really cool kind of Led Zepp vibe to it. That's Scott's guitaring, this wicked groove in there, and that was a lot of fun. So, as well as that, of course, I collaborated with the D-Day Saints, which was my first collaborating experience. So yeah, I want to do more of that as well next year. And like I say, most of those songs I'm doing with Scott will probably end up on the album. Should be about 10 or 12 songs. And I think we're going to go with like self-titled Audio Storm for the album name. So yeah, 2015, roll on.